You're sitting in a team meeting when you notice a problem no one else seems to see. You've seen this pattern before. You know where it leads, so you explain the risk, suggest a practical solution, and wait. The conversation moves on. 10 minutes later, a younger coworker says almost the same thing. The wording is sharper, the slide looks better. Maybe they use a phrase like scalable solution or future-ready workflow. Suddenly, the room comes alive. People nod. Someone from leadership says, "That's exactly the kind of thinking we need." The idea becomes a discussion. Your coworker becomes associated with the insight. You don't interrupt. You don't demand credit. You might even smile and tell yourself it doesn't matter. But later, while answering emails or driving home, the moment returns. When did your voice become so easy to overlook? From the outside, people may interpret your reaction in a simple way. Maybe you're jealous. Maybe you feel threatened by younger employees. Maybe you're uncomfortable with change. But the deeper pain may have very little to do with their age. It may come from a promise you built your professional identity around. If you became competent enough, reliable enough, and useful enough, your value would remain obvious. For many Gen X professionals, that promise was never formally spoken. It was absorbed. Don't complain. Figure it out. Learn on your own. Stay late when necessary. Don't make your problems someone else's responsibility. Become the person who can handle pressure without needing applause. And for years, that strategy worked. You became the one people called when a system failed, a client exploded, or a deadline became impossible. You remembered why an old process existed. You knew which new idea had already been tried 10 years earlier. You could stabilize a team without making a performance out of it. Those experiences built real confidence. Psychologists sometimes call this self-efficacy, the belief that you can face a problem and find a way through it. But something else may have formed alongside that confidence. You may have learned to connect your worth with usefulness. You matter because you solve things. You belong because you don't need much. You earn security by becoming indispensable. That identity can feel strong, but it contains a hidden vulnerability. When people stop asking for your help, you don't just lose attention. You lose the mirror that once showed you who you were. And workplace invisibility rarely begins with a dramatic firing. It begins with smaller signals. You are no longer invited to the early conversation, only the cleanup. Decisions are made without you, but you are asked to fix the consequences. You train the new hire, then watch that person become the public face of knowledge you helped build. People still trust you with maintenance, but not with possibility. Your competence has not disappeared. The way competence is recognized has changed. In many workplaces, value is no longer communicated only through results. It is also communicated through visibility, networking, digital fluency, polished presentations, strategic language, and repeated participation in conversations where decisions are made. This does not mean the louder person is more capable. It means attention is limited. When managers are overloaded, they may notice what is recent, visible, and easy to explain. The employee preventing 10 problems behind the scenes can receive less recognition than the employee presenting one clean summary of improvement. That can feel unfair because it often is. But it also creates an uncomfortable question. Are you still using an old language to communicate value in a workplace that no longer understands it? You may think your work should speak for itself, but work does not speak. People interpret it. And when you refuse to explain your contribution because self-promotion feels shallow, someone else may explain the outcome for you. Not always maliciously. Sometimes they simply have no idea how much of the foundation came from you. This is where the fear of becoming invisible turns inward. You may say, "I don't need recognition." Sometimes that is true. Healthy independence means you do not require constant praise to know you are competent. But sometimes, "I don't need recognition" is protection. Because admitting that recognition matters also means admitting that its absence hurts. Imagine that a younger coworker is chosen to lead a project in an area you helped create. You congratulate them. You tell yourself leadership probably wanted fresh energy. You insist you never cared about titles anyway. Yet the disappointment stays with you for days. Perhaps you are not only grieving the opportunity, perhaps you are grieving the identity of being the person others naturally turn toward. There is another layer, and it is harder to face. Two employees can be equally quiet for completely different reasons. One stays quiet because they are secure. They do not need to dominate every room. They can share credit, ask questions, learn from younger colleagues, and admit when something is new to them. The other stays quiet because visibility creates risk. If you speak in the high-profile meeting, people may challenge you. If you apply for the promotion, you may be rejected. If you learn the new platform in public, others may see you struggle. If you mentor someone younger, you may discover that the relationship is not one-directional anymore. So you withdraw before the workplace can evaluate you. You call the new tool unnecessary. You describe networking as fake. You say the promotion process is performative. You tell yourself you could succeed under the new rules, but you choose not to participate. That belief protects your self-esteem. As long as you never fully enter the game, you never have to discover whether you can still win. This does not mean your concerns are imaginary. Age-related bias can shape hiring, promotions, and whose ideas receive attention. Some organizations confuse novelty with potential and experience with stagnation. They depend on older employees to train new leaders while overlooking those same employees for leadership. You can be unfairly underestimated and still be protecting yourself. Both things can be true. An entirely external explanation, they will never value someone like me, can lead to helplessness. An entirely internal explanation, this is all my fault, creates shame. A more useful question is, what belongs to the environment and what remains within your influence? You may not control whether a company worships youth, trends, or constant reinvention, but you can document your contributions. You can ask to be included before the crisis. You can build relationships with people who do not already know your history. You can explain not only what you fixed, but why it mattered. You can learn a new tool without pretending to love every trend. You can become visible without pretending to be younger. That distinction matters. Adaptation does not require turning yourself into a personal brand or performing enthusiasm you do not feel. It does not mean abandoning the independence, judgment, and resilience that took decades to build. It means translating those strengths. Instead of quietly preventing a recurring problem, you might say, here's the risk we avoided, the decision that prevented it, and what this means for the next quarter. Instead of waiting for someone to remember your expertise, you enter the strategic conversation while the direction is still being shaped. Instead of hiding your beginner status, you allow yourself to learn publicly. That may feel uncomfortable because real confidence is not the certainty that you will always look capable. It is the ability to remain present when you temporarily do not. So ask yourself something honest. Are you being excluded, or are you waiting to be rediscovered? Do you reject visibility because it violates your values, or because it creates the possibility of rejection? Do you truly not need recognition, or did you learn not to expect it? For the next week, notice one moment when you make your work smaller. Maybe you solve a problem and say nothing. Maybe you decline a conversation you wanted to join. Maybe you assume people should already know what you bring. Do not force yourself to become louder. Just make one contribution more understandable. The next time you're in that meeting and your idea passes through the room without landing, the answer may not be to fight for applause. It may be to stay in the conversation long enough to give your experience a form others can recognize. Because invisibility is not always proof that your value is disappearing. Sometimes the workplace has stopped looking carefully. And sometimes, after years of believing competence should speak for itself, you have stopped giving it a voice. Your experience should not become a private archive that everyone needs and no one knows how to access. If this felt familiar, share what being visible at work means to you, and subscribe for more conversations about the psychology behind the roles we learn to survive in. Film de narrativa.